All right, everybody, I have got 3:01. So in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and get this meeting started. Welcome once again to the monthly meeting of the DuPage ROSC Council. My name is Jarrett. I am the ROSC coordinator, and I am also a person in long-term recovery, which is important. I point that out. If everybody could do me a favor and make sure their microphone is muted, unless we're speaking, that'll help out the meeting quite a bit. We're thrilled to have you here as always. We do have some great presentations today. And as always, the turnout is fantastic. So thank you. I feel like we really are building a core of attendees who make it every month. And it's really gratifying to me and the other ROSC members to see people coming back every month. So we really appreciate it. Speaking of the lovely attendees, if everyone could do me a favor and please put your name, organization, and contact info in the chat. It's a great way to make connections. When we first started ROSC, one of the goals was to get folks to de-silo, which is basically like a fancy recovery speak for cutting down on tunnel vision and being able to work together on the continuum of recovery, because we're all from different points and different organizations on that continuum of recovery. So feel free to put your name and contact info in the chat. That would be phenomenal. I'm always hearing from different people about the connections that you've been able to make through these meetings. People are being able to get some warm handoffs or being able to collaborate on certain projects, which is kind of one of the goals for us. So it's been awesome to be able to see that. It really makes my day to hear that stuff. In my mind, if we can even help just one person through connections we make on here, I think it's worth it. So a couple of updates real quick. I thought I was making progress on my never-ending battle to perfect a hybrid meeting. This is like my white whale. I lay awake at night trying to think of ways to perfect the hybrid meeting. And we got closer, folks. I'm going to let you know we got closer. We actually bought some wireless microphones that we were hoping to implement, like for the people here in person. Tested them out, did some beta testing this week. They worked great. Brought them up here to the room where the meeting's at. I've got to run this computer through like an HDMI for the overhead speakers. So as soon as I plugged in the mics, they did not want to work together at all. They crashed my computer multiple times. So long story short, we will hopefully have some workarounds in the future. We really do want to try to make sure people come here in person, in addition to being here on Zoom. We're happy to have you either way, but we are making progress. I'm just incredibly neurotic about making sure that this hybrid thing is perfect. So we'll get there. We will get there. So let's real quickly go over the agenda for today's meeting. I'm going to share the screen here. All right. So going through the open here, we're going to do some housekeeping stuff here at the beginning. I'm going to give a preview of some upcoming meetings that we're going to be having, including our subcommittee meeting, which is coming up here in about 3 weeks. So I'll be announcing that as well. So for our presentations today, we're really excited. We've got Kelly Mannion, who's a program manager for transitional housing and rapid rehousing at 360 Youth Services in Naperville, which is a fantastic program. And we're really happy to have them here to talk to us about the services they provide, as well as some of the unique challenges that the LGBTQ plus community faces in recovery. So we're glad to have her here. After that, we've got Frank Blada, who is a person with lived experience, who's going to come and speak a little bit about his experience in that area as well. And we're happy to have him here. We always leave time towards the end for organizational updates. And that part's really important to me. Everybody makes it here to the meetings, and I know you all are working on stuff. And the whole point of getting together is to try and find ways to work together. So I'd be interested in hearing what everyone's working on. If you're with an organization, or even if you're just like a person with lived experience who's in recovery, if you're celebrating any anniversaries, if there's any successes that you want to tell us about, I think that's what we're going to do in that time, which is really important. And then towards the end, we're going to talk about our community needs assessment, which went live a couple of weeks ago. Some of you have been incredibly helpful in helping me get that distributed, which has been awesome. I'm very thankful for that. The stuff that we get from that, like the data that we collect from that, will be used to kind of analyze and then direct the efforts of the ROSC for the next year or two. So it's important that we get that in front of as many people as possible. We'll kind of go over that briefly towards the end, and then I'll provide links for that if anybody wants to take that assessment today, or if they have a way to be able to distribute that through their own organization. That would be super, super helpful. So the last meeting, if you were here, We had a great presentation by Ken, and Ken's here. Ken Tremiel from Rush Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences. He talked to us about dual diagnosis, and he did a phenomenal job. If you missed that, all of our presentations go on our YouTube page. I usually provide the link to those after the meeting, and I'll be happy to do that again. Or you can always just search on YouTube for DuPage ROSC, and then all of our meetings are up there. So that's the way that you can see that. I do want to thank everybody who came out in person last month, because we had that event with Eternal Buzz Cafe. Everybody like really enjoyed themselves. I know the Eternal Buzz folks were really happy to get to meet so many different people and make those connections. They currently are exploring a brick and mortar location that they would eventually like to use, hopefully as a recovery cafe, which, if you are familiar with those types of things, super important places and could be a great addition to the recovery community in DuPage County. So for more information for them, if you want to go to check it out, and I'll throw this link in the chat here in a little bit, you can go to eternalbuzzcommunity.com. So eternalbuzzcommunity.com, go check them out. Great people. They have a great mission, and we were happy to be able to partner with them. I'm going to go over real quickly some upcoming meetings. So next month, Wednesday, July 13th, the topic is going to be sober housing in DuPage, which is one of my pet projects. I think that's something that's like incredibly important out here. And when I'm talking about sober housing, I mean kind of like extended stay sober housing. I myself, in addition to being the coordinator at the ROSC, I work for Serenity House Counseling Services in Addison. So we kind of specialize in men and women's halfway houses and recovery homes. And there's always a need for places like this out here in DuPage. There's some great work being done by groups like Oxford House, who are kind of expanding into the area. There's any number of private houses that exist in addition to the ones that we have. I know Gateway is looking to get into this too. We have a large population to service out here. And studies will show that the people have a better chance of recovery if they're able to be stabilized for longer periods of time. So we're going to be talking about that in July. Wednesday, as everybody who works in this field knows, is Overdose Awareness Month. So we're going to be doing something on that topic for the ROSC meeting, but be on the lookout. We have multiple events that month. I'm sure some of your organizations have events. Serenity House is going to have a couple, one out here and then also one out in the community. And then we were looking at the ROSC having one too. So that's a really big month for us. So that's kind of the programming that we have planned for the next couple of months. In addition, the first DuPage ROSC Subcommittee meeting is going to be Wednesday, June 29th at 7 p.m. Here at Serenity House. That's going to be in person. I know sometimes it's difficult for folks to get in person. Maybe they don't feel comfortable doing that yet, but we really want everybody to be here in person. So that's really the only option. Some of the things that we're going to try to accomplish with that first subcommittee is a lot of the planning. So maybe some of the directions that we go as far as educations and advocacy, some of the events that we're looking to do in the community. There's a lot of opportunities and things for us to do tangibly in the community. And so, this is not my program. I coordinate and I chair these meetings, but this is really a council-based program. So we want as many people there as possible who, want to say in this, and not only people in organizations, people who are in recovery or their friends or family. The one thing we say over and over again is that there should be nothing about us without us. If there's programs for people in recovery, there should be people in recovery who are having a say in what those programs are. This is all about advocacy and giving agency to people in DuPage County for the programs that they have. So I'll remind you all about this towards the end of the meeting, but we would love to have you here. That first meeting is going to be at Serenity, but we really would like to maybe set up some outside meetings too, so it's not just here all the time. That's just the first place, but if that's a committee is something you want to be a part of, we can talk about hosting it other places too. But let's just get that first one knocked out, and we'll kind of look at some plans for the next few months. So let me stop this share for now. So housekeeping's out of the way for now. So I want to go ahead and get started with the presenters. As many of you know, we celebrate LGBTQ+ Pride Month in June. Pride Month celebrated annually in June to honor the 1969 Stonewall Riots, right? And the works to achieve equal justice and equal opportunity for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning Americans. And this is, one of my blind spots, like with this history lesson, because I only learned about Stonewall like a few years ago. So in June of 1969, patrons and supporters of the Stonewall Inn in New York City staged an uprising to kind of resist the police harassment that was happening and the persecution that was happening with LGBT Americans that they were commonly subjected to. So this uprising marks the beginning of a movement to kind of outlaw those discriminatory laws and practices that were happening against them. And the purpose of the commemorative month is to recognize the impact that these folks have had on history, not only locally, but nationally and internationally. So we thought it would only be appropriate this June to be able to spotlight, to start off, an organization in DuPage County that's doing some really amazing work in that area, which is 360 Youth Services in Naperville. So I want to welcome Kelly Mannion, who I said before is the program manager for Transitional Housing and Rapid Rehousing, who's going to tell us about the services they provide, as well as some of these unique challenges facing LGBTQ plus people in recovery, and really the need for specialized services out here in DuPage. So Kelly, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. If everybody could just make sure that their microphones are muted during the presentation, that would be great. So Kelly, it's all yours.
So yeah, I am, like I said, when I started, I'm very excited to be able to brag about our programs because I love what we do. So yeah, 360 Youth Services has been around for about 50 years. We kind of have three prongs. We have a prevention department that works with middle school, high school students in the Naperville area. We have a counseling department that works with 12 to 25-year-olds doing counseling. And then back in 2000, we started a transitional housing program. So we serve youth ages 18 to 24 that are experiencing homelessness, and we're able to house them in our transitional housing program for 18 to 24 months, kind of depending on what grant it falls under, and really kind of trying to make the best of those 24 months to be able to break that cycle of homelessness. We say, we're working on a lot of adulting skills for these youth. So, at the very beginning, it's coming in. Do we have all of our identification? Do we have, do we have food stamps? Do we have Medicaid? All of that good stuff. We have a vocational coach that works on our team. So then we hit the ground running with, resume building, job hunting. We're pretty well located in Naperville, right between like downtown Naperville and Route 59. So lots of great places that we can find employment. We have funding for a residential therapist in our program. So we're able to provide therapeutic services for free. Through the grant, we don't have to worry about any insurance billing for any of that. And we are set up kind of with a housing first model. So the thought is we make coming into this program as low barrier as possible. So we don't have any requirements that people are sober when they come in. And if they have a mental health diagnosis, we do not require compliance with medication or going to therapy. Obviously, we are screening to make sure that they can safely live independently. They're set up in 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartments. But we are not staffed 24 hours a day. So yeah, kind of checking on that. Kathleen, did you have a question? Making up the hands up. Okay. So we don't require the sobriety. Obviously, if people have a history of use, we definitely start conversations right away when they come in. But also, we are not set up as like an abstinence-based program. So do a lot more like the harm reduction. A lot of what we find with this age group, 18 to 24, also especially since in the state of Illinois, marijuana was legalized, it's very hard to get the messaging across to completely get to no use. Occasionally happens. So then back in 2014, the federal government put out a proposal for more funding for transitional housing, and they called it for specialized populations. So nationally, the trend is about 40% of LGBTQ youth end up homeless, as compared to about 10% of their straight cisgendered peers. So the agency was like, there is our avenue. The agency was also seeing very similar numbers in folks that were being referred to our program, folks that were coming through. So we have 38 total beds of transitional housing, 8 of them specifically dedicated to LGBTQ youth. So with that, some of it just starts as a comfort level that when youth call, because it is on our website and it is there, it kind of opens the door. Like a lot of youth that reach out to us say that they are specifically calling us because they see that on our website. This is a very hard age group to engage in with homeless services. I mean, hard to engage, period, but particularly with homeless services. Shelter programs often are very difficult for the age, for 18 to 24-year-olds, because they kind of feel unsafe being around. Shelter populations tend to skew a little bit higher. So there's kind of an uncomfort level being there. And then identifying as LGBTQ, a lot of shelters struggle with appropriate policies for trans youth on where to place them based on the gender that they are and placing them appropriately there. And even just, there's the fear and the concern of being outed, even as lesbian and gay in there, and kind of what a community reaction would be to that. So many LGBTQ youth often are avoiding shelters. So then we're staying in much more unsafe places. We're sleeping outside, sleeping in cars, potentially engaging in risky behavior to be able to crash on a couch for a couple of weeks, things like that. A lot of LGBTQ youth we are seeing are also experiencing significantly higher rates of mental health diagnoses, particularly like depression and anxiety. Many of them are coming from homes that even in 2022, we don't have parents that are affirming or accepting. So kind of living in that environment of, I'm not accepted for who I am, struggling with that. Being, for a lot of our trans clients, being denied access to gender affirming care. We'll do that. And, you know, as we addressed last month in the presentation, you know, then we often see a lot of the co-occurring disorders, that the mental health and the substance use. So we kind of hit with both of those there. So we kind of see increased substance use, increased mental health diagnoses. So, you know, we really also try to work and lean into that housing first of, you know, come here, because the thought is it's a lot easier to engage in services when you're not worried about where you're going to sleep that next night. When you know where your bed is, when you know that you have a safe place to be, a safe place to go. And also that we are, you know, very, very open to, it's okay, we recognize you're using, and it's a safe place to then come forward and say, hey, like, maybe I'm interested in talking to somebody now. And it's not going to be, you know, shame on you. We know, you know, you just smoked weed last night, you were drinking last night, you were whatever last night. So yeah, we work very hard we go through a lot of training here. We have like a human rights campaign training that staff have to go through upon hire and have to redo every year about working with LGBTQ youth. Also connected through a training that SAMHSA put together. So to make sure that our staff is very mindful of speaking to youth, how we are, you know, addressing things, being very mindful in even our paperwork and how we address things. We have a little spiel when we take everyone in, because again, we're state and federally funded. So as many of you understand, there's rules behind, you know, the federal government means I have to put your government name down on some stuff, but as a program, we will recognize you by the name you use, who you are, and kind of really just live, you know, leaning into that. We have a very good connection. We're like 10 minutes away from the Aurora Planned Parenthood. So assuring youth that we have access to affirming care for them, that there aren't going to be questions around that. We also, here in Naperville, Youth Outlook is a great community partners of ours. They do a lot of affirming programming for gay and trans youth. So kind of connecting our youth up with those resources to really just kind of build that safe place of, we're here to make sure you can land on your feet when you're done. And we're not here to question who you are. Like, we take you for who you are. We also have a connection that can do name changes for youth. So taking them through that process to get fee waivers for that. If anyone wants to change their name and all of that good stuff. So, unfortunately in 2019, when we had to rebid for our contract, we were scored like 0.03 of a point below what we needed for the funding, but the agency was so committed to those beds that our board of directors took on private funding to maintain those beds, because it was that important that we keep that in that community. And we definitely get a lot of, not to brag on what we do, but a lot of youth have said, I've been too afraid to reach out to other places, but I feel okay here that you guys aren't gonna judge me for who I am. So yeah, that's a little bit about what we do. And just it's our little part of trying to break that cycle of homelessness for them. So hopefully we can take some of those youth out of those statistics of being homeless, and get them on their feet when they're done with us. So, and we have pretty good rates of that. So even though DuPage County is expensive.
That was going to be my next question. I want to open it up just for questions from anybody. If you haven't been able to interact with 360 yet, or just have questions about their services, I think that's really important. So tell me again, what's the length of stay for some of the housing? Because one thing we've found, like I said earlier in the meeting, length of stay is really important. Transitional stuff's important. In addition to case management after the client might leave a facility. So what are the timeframes that they work with over there?
For sure. So one of our grants, because over time we just keep getting new grants to get more beds. 10 of our beds are an 18-month stay. 28 of them are a 24-month stay. And then also when someone graduates from our program, we are able to also do a year of aftercare with them to do some follow-up case management. We're also very fortunate so over the last year and a half, I always feel bad saying it's good luck because it came out of COVID, but the federal government also did funnel a lot of money into local housing authorities, which opened up the opportunity for a lot more housing choice vouchers that our kids have previously not been able to access because of wait lists. They're on the list, but the list is so slow moving that it's almost impossible. So we've probably had about 20 youth that have been able to move out with a housing choice voucher, which is just life-changing for anyone that can get that. And also with that, DuPage County Community Services has also some support services they can do for folks that have a housing choice voucher. So they can kind of get a double set of case management support after they leave. So we can follow up, the county can follow up, and kind of having two sets of friendly folks checking in on them.
The other question I had is as far as trends that you're seeing, so for LGBTQ plus youth, is it kind of in line with some of the substance use that we're seeing across the state, with opioids, or is it different types that they might be partial to the cis population might not be? So we tend to kind of quite honestly across the board, kind of with everyone we see, the biggest thing we're seeing is marijuana use. So knock on wood, thankfully, I've been here coming up on 3 years. In my time, we have only had 2 youth actively using opioids in my time here. So bulk of it is marijuana and then also just heavy alcohol use as well. So yeah, for both our cisgendered and our trans and gay youth, it's mostly marijuana that we're seeing. Nicole, you got a question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask. Hi, I'm Nicole. Nicole Jansen with Recovery Centers of America. And my question is, if we had someone in treatment who was needing housing coming out of a residential program, could they transition directly into housing there? We do specifically have at our Indianapolis location a programming for LGBTQ plus communities. So I'm just wondering what sort of supports we could provide them in particular.
For sure. So I will be very honest. Pretty much at any given time, we are maintaining a wait list. So the good and the bad, but so I think it'd be hard to be able to potentially bring somebody directly from, like, the timing would have to be incredibly perfect, but we're also more than happy. We have an intake specialist that like assesses all of our clients, maintains our wait list. So, we're also more than happy to entertain those conversations. I always kind of tell people, get on as many lists as you can. Because even though it is an 18 to 24 month stay, like sometimes circumstances come up that, we recently had a client that got a job that was paying $25 an hour. So we were like, okay, you have 2 months, save some cash, you can get out on your own. Like, you don't need us anymore. So yeah, the wait list is kind of a very fluid beast because so many different circumstances. So yeah, I mean, it's not a no, but the reality is the timing of an open bed with you discharging somebody and us having an open bed might be challenging, but we would always be happy to put them on our wait list.
And so if someone were to come into programming and immediately alert their caseworker that they don't have somewhere to go at the end of their treatment, what would be the best way to get them on that list?
So yeah, I will put in the chat, the contact information for our intake person. So
Great,
yeah, if anybody ever has a person they need to refer, Jean is excellent. So yeah, she kind of coordinates. Sorry, I can't type and talk at the same time. But yeah, so yeah, you would reach out to Jean and she would set up the assessment, get the ball rolling on that. And then we could put them on our wait list.
Great, thank you so much.
And like I said before, like housing is so important. Like I've done a lot of assessments in the community, not only for our official assessment, but just for the state and for some other things we have to turn in. And for a population of our size in DuPage, it's just, we're really lacking in housing options. And most of the Housing Choice Voucher Program opened up the other day, and they only have X amount of positions that they can give that out to. And they told you need to be online that minute that it opens, and those things were filled within a couple of minutes. The amount of housing choice stuff is very limited. And so this is not only people who are in recovery from substance use and mental health, this is just housing insecurity in general. It's so important. And through my lead agency here, like I said, we provide housing. I tell people who are in treatment or who are at other places, we have a wait list. We can do the best we can. But I always hate having to say that, because I want them to be able to go somewhere when they really need it. So that's why I think it's important we have conversations like this about, where can we do these people, it's not like they have a home to go to when they leave, their options are they're going to go on the street. So to be able to have, some handoffs like this where we can at least get them prepared for something would be great.
For sure. And we do also, I didn't say, we have a very small part, given the amount of, again, cost of living in this area. We do have a little bit of rental assistance that we could potentially look at paying, like security deposit, first month's rent. Again, for the cost of living in DuPage County, it's a laughable amount of money, but there's some money on the table. But also, again, the county also has some money, so we have a pretty good relationship with them as well. So yeah, if somebody reached out, it looks like somebody that could potentially get into their own apartment, stand on their own. We do our very best to try to make whatever connections we can, recognizing that we do have a wait list at any given time. So if we can, connect those dots to try to get someone somewhere, we're happy to do it. So
Astrid, you got a question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for being here and talking about 360 Youth. What I want to know is, basically, how do you get referrals? How do people that need your services get in touch with you?
I would say the vast majority come from youth that Google us and find us on the internet. But then we do, like a lot of school social workers, high school social workers, we get a lot of youth that when they hit 18, parents are looking them up and saying, I'm no longer going to house you. You're an adult now, time to go. So when those youth are still engaged in school programming, like school social workers, a lot of like local hospital, like behavioral health, like social workers and things like that will reach out. We have some the Naperville Police Department, social work department knows us pretty well. So they're pretty good. But yeah, I would say probably 9 out of 10 people or contacts we get are actually youth that have just found us on the internet and shoot out an email and say, hey, I'm in a bad situation. Can you help out? So.
Ken, you got a question?
Yes. Hi, Kelly. Thank you for a great presentation and a lot of information. And I may have missed this, but I wanted to know whether or not you all had drop-in services.
Unfortunately, we don't. So we're working on that. We are working on trying to kind of set up some like emergency shelter services and kind of building some support services in that way. But at this point in time, we unfortunately don't have drop-in services.
Okay.
Thanks, Ken. So in the interest of time, if anybody has one last question for Kelly, I'm happy to take it. Anybody else got anything before we let her off? All right, Kelly, thank you so much. It was awesome to have you here. I will say, when I first started doing outreach for the ROSC, 360 was like one of the first places I reached out to because I knew how important it was to the continuum of folks who were looking for stuff like this out here in DuPage. So thank you again. And I'll make sure I include contact info for them. If you haven't gotten it from the chat, I'll make sure I do a follow-up email and then we'll go from there. So thank you very much, Kelly. Quick thing before we go on to our next presenter. We're always looking for more members from different areas of that continuum I mentioned. People who are looking for recovery from mental health and substance use, obviously that stuff is just the beginning. There's a whole litany of issues they're dealing with, everything from employment to legal services to housing insecurity, obviously food insecurity. We want from as many people from those areas as we can. So if you know someone from those areas, please invite them to our meetings, or you can let me know and I'd be happy to put them on the list because we want to get as many people out here as possible so we can better treat that continuum as opposed to just trying to play whack-a-mole with acute care services, which we're fighting the good fight, but there's only so much we can do with that. So Felicia, you want to come up here? So this is the only low point, but about having a hybrid meeting go haywire with the AV. So Felicia's going to come up here. I'm going to have her introduce our next presenter. So this is Felicia Maselli, a coworker of mine. So she's just going to say a couple things here. So Felicia, go take that spot over.
Hi, everyone. Glad everyone's here today. So I have the pleasure of introducing Frank Latta, Frankie. I have known Frank and his family for many, many, many years, too many to mention. He has managed not only to survive a lot of highly hard situations to navigate, to live through. He's not only survived, he's thriving. He's a true example of what recovery can be and the miracle of it. And as far as a person, he's miraculous. He's amazing. And I hope you can tell how much that I really truly love this man and admire him. And it's hard for me to call him a man because I've known him since he was a boy, but he's a man now. I'm just really proud of him. And once you meet him, I know you'll be amazed just as much as I am. And here's Frank Latta.
What are we doing? Okay. Hey, everybody. My name is Frank, and I am a gay recovering drug addict and alcoholic. So I came out 10 years ago, and Sunday I just celebrated 4 years of sobriety. And this is the first time that I'm actually openly saying that I am a gay man in recovery to a group of people. Not because it's something that I'm ashamed of, but it's something that I feared all my life. I knew that I was gay from a young age. You know, a lot of the things we hear in recovery about not fitting in, not feeling okay in our own skin, I felt all of those. I knew very young that I was different from everybody. And, you know, at that time, I didn't have a concept of what I was. I didn't, understand that that was what was making me feel different. But I did have the concept that the worst thing that I can do is be a gay man. And I lived with a lot of guilt and shame. And lately I've been working with my sponsor on childhood traumas and things like that. And I realized that I lived in a survival mode from a young age. And I learned to lie and just, create this person that I didn't even know all my life. And I never looked at it as trauma. I looked at it as just survival, it just wasn't something I was ever going to do. And I lived with that till I was 13 years old. And at 13 years old is when I had my first drink. And at 14, it progressed. I started smoking pot. By 15, 16 years old, I was addicted to cocaine. By 17 years old, through some other circumstances, I became addicted to crystal meth. And by 21, I was an IV drug user. And that my life spiraled till I was about 28 years old. And when I came out, I wish I could say that it was a great experience, but it was not. And it's kind of weird because this feels like I'm coming out all over again, and it's streamed on YouTube, so it's there forever. But it was a very difficult time, and everything that Kelly talked about, I experienced it. I experienced not fitting in and not really ever feeling wanted, to a point where it was easier for me to just be a drug addict sleeping in my car or bouncing around than it was to ever accept who I was. So for 15 years of drugs and alcohol abuse, I masked every feeling that I ever had. I was able to get rid of the guilt and the internalized homophobia, all that. Nothing mattered to me. And at 28 years old, I found myself sitting in a federal holding prison, facing a very long time. And everything, all my solutions, my drugs, the alcohol, everything was taken from me. And I sat there, and all that fear, all that hatred that I had for myself, that all came back. And, if anybody's ever been to jail, that's not the place you want to be, out and proud. And that was the scariest thing for me. And at 28 years old, I went back into the closet and I hid who I was. I would casually, people that I was close with, I would share it with. But when I went into treatment, I went for my assessment, and, I was going to be honest. And I told one of the counselors that I was gay. And it was suggested to me that I keep that part to myself. They didn't tell me not to say it, but she said just, to not have to deal with anything, it's better to keep that to yourself. So I did. And while I was in there was an openly gay man that came in, and I started to see why she wanted me to say that, not say anything. I watched the jokes and all the comments and everything that he went through, and he actually left and relapsed. And I was at a point in my recovery where it was so fresh for me, and I had so much riding on it, that I went back into that survival mode, because I needed to do anything I could to protect that sobriety. So I continued to live a semi-lie. I had my outsources or whatever to help me get through all of that. And I transferred, after I completed my treatment, I went to a halfway house. And real quickly at that halfway house, I realized that I'm probably gonna continue to not say anything. And it's been something that I've struggled with since I got sober. You know, luckily, by the time I got to the halfway house, I was able to go out into the community, and I was able to kind of create my own recovery program. You know, I would, any chance I got, I'd be up on the north side to AA meetings, you know, that were more inclusive. And I started to build a network of people. And that's, you know, that's what saved my life in early recovery. You know, people, like I said, people that I was close to, that's what kept me sane, you know. And getting asked to come do this, you know, I got to thank Felicia and Jared, because I've had an anxiety attack all week. Yeah, having to come do this, you know. And this is one of the first times I've actually felt completely free in recovery, you know. And what they do at 360 Youth, that's awesome. I wish I knew about services like that when I was younger, because maybe I would have had a little more guidance. But thank you, for what you do. And that's all I got.
Everybody give a virtual round of applause for Frank. That was phenomenal.
Frank, could you tell them about your career a little bit?
Oh, because Felicia's asking me now. So after I did get sober, you know, I know some of that sounded bad, but my life has completely changed. You know, while I was living in the halfway house, I completed college. I graduated my bachelor's degree in psychology of addictions. I'm now working as a substance abuse counselor for a men's halfway house. I'm currently working on my master's degree in clinical mental health counseling. And, you know, at the end of this, my goal is to be able to help people who went through the same things that I did.
So whoever has questions for Frank or comments, I left a couple minutes here, so please feel free to give some feedback.
I mean, thank you so much for sharing your story. That was really brave. I don't know that I could have done it, but it's wonderful to hear. So thank you.
Thanks, Nicole.
Got some
Frank
good-
Kathleen, shouldn't be talking, but I am. You are an inspiration. You are an inspiration. There's a purpose and a plan for your life, and more people need to hear your story. You have succeeded and gone beyond, and your education is going to put you on a platform to be there for other people that need to hear that story. So thanks for sharing. Kudos to you. Lower your
Thanks, Kathy.
Good job.
Frank, I just wanted to say it was great to hear your story. And I think, you know, your journey speaks volumes to what one can do when they are once in the right place. I mean, you accepted recovery, you wanted it, and you have done so much with it. And it has truly given you that, well, that new life, if you will. And you're going to be able to provide so much to so many, because I think particularly there's much need within the LGBTQ community for stronger promotion of recovery and resources. And having someone like yourself who has walked the walk and is now showing what that's capable of and what one can do and making those changes, you're going to have a very powerful impact. So keep up that strong work. Well done.
Thanks, John.
Thought I saw another hand up earlier. Could be wrong.
Yeah, it's Astrid. Thank you so much, Frank, for sharing your story. It's a beautiful story. It's a lot of tragedy and pain, but isn't recovery a good tool for people like us to use to find who we really are and be okay with who we really are? Because that's what recovery, I mean, to me, that the best, I mean, aside from getting clean and sober, right? And being able to make a decent living and be a person that people trust. Beyond that, it was just so good to feel, I know who I am now and I'm okay with that. And so good for you. And I hope that the more you share, the more confidence you'll be able to build in who you are, because who you are is amazing and awesome, just like Felicia said, so and the other, I just want to make one more comment. It just blew my mind that you found your way in spite of not having, I didn't hear it in your story, a lot of support, guidance. It's just like, it just sounded to me like you were just left floundering. But you got through, you got to the right people, you got to the right decision, and good for you. I'm very proud of you myself. Thank you.
Thanks, Astrid.
All right, any last comments for Frank? All right, everybody give him a round of applause again. That was awesome. All right, so thank you to both of our speakers. We definitely appreciate the time. And although we've had them here, because it's Pride Month, like these are topics to be talked about every day of the year. It shouldn't just be because there's a month that's denoted to have pride in something. So like as we advocate and fight for better services and treatment and try to break down barriers for different communities, this is a conversation we should be having every day and every month. But we definitely honor them in June. So Frank did awesome, and that's the type of thing that I'd really like to invite more down the road at other meetings, because there's obviously a lot of us work in the field and there's things that we can talk about organizationally, but a lot of us are also persons with lived experience and are going through things that we can share at these meetings. So if you're ever interested in kind of sharing a little bit of your story and how it's helped you, whether it's in this field or not, please let me know, because I would be happy to have you here to talk to everybody. So very, very cool. Happy to have them here. So at the time we have left, I do want to open the floor to everybody. So this is like organizational update time. So what are you working on? What are some of the projects you're doing? What are some stuff you're planning for this summer? What can we promote? How can we help? If you're not somebody who's necessarily like in an organization, you're just somebody with lived experience, like, are there any successes you've had, any anniversaries you want to bring up? This is really for like a chance for us to get to know each other a little bit more. So I want to leave it open, or even maybe if you're new into this area and want to talk to people who are, to network and stuff like that. I just want to open it up for a few minutes. So whoever wants to start, don't wait for me. Just go ahead and unmute.
Okay, so I'll just quickly introduce myself again to everyone. My name is Nicole Jansen, and I am the DuPage County. I'm new to my role, but I'm a treatment advocate in DuPage County for Recovery Centers of America. So I'm hoping, for those of you that I haven't met yet, I will get to meet you soon. I'm really just trying to learn what resources there are in DuPage County for those suffering with substance use disorder. And then obviously, want to figure out how Recovery Centers of America can be a good partner as well. For today's meeting, I'll just mention that I do know, again, I'm new, so, I'm still learning, but I do know that we do have a specialized programming at Indianapolis for the LGBTQ plus community. So I think that's important. And then here in Illinois, in St. Charles, we do have specialized programming for youth, so 18 to 24. That population is housed together and they're in recovery together because they obviously are dealing with some issues that some of the older population, it may not be as applicable. And so anyone who has resources that we can share as we prepare them to leave treatment, that would be great. So thank you, and it's nice to meet all of you.
Thanks, Nicole. Who else has got something? All right, fine. Well, everyone's fighting for airtime. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I hear his voice.
I just couldn't do the dead air thing. Hey guys, Mark, certified peer recovery support specialist. That's a new thing. Yeah, just got my IODAPCA certification acceptance. So I'm really grateful. Also, that was a big shout out to the recovery training that was put on through a Serenity House, obviously through all these resources that I have here at ROSC. And also last month was really phenomenal experience. I got to attend NADAC's virtual Hill Day, and I got to do some advocacy. Got to meet with my state representatives, State Senator Kasdan, House of Representatives Kasdan, Underwood, and it was a pretty cool experience, especially being able to kind of have a voice. I said I would never ever get into politics, but obviously not about us without us, and it was a really cool experience. Getting to advocate not only for the workforce, but also things like decriminalization, over legalization. I actually got a really cool experience where the where the understanding was something we were talking about actually got addressed, and what was actually handled, which is kind of cool. I mean, to actually be a part of that. So it's pretty cool stuff, this recovery thing. So thanks, guys.
Congratulations on the certification, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. Kayla, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I have two things. I just want to say on Sunday, I celebrated 8 years of continuous sobriety. So that is super exciting. And then also through my work next Wednesday, we're launching something called the Patient Journey Map Report. We conducted life course history interviews with 60 individuals in recovery. So I'll definitely pass it along to Jarrett. And it highlights a lot of like key things that people have talked about throughout their recovery, whether it's pain points, challenges, positive things in their recovery, a lot of like key findings. So I'll definitely pass it along once it's released.
Thanks, Kayla. That's awesome. I look forward to seeing that. Anybody else? Hold on, I got Felicia coming up. She's got some new programs actually. I should have remembered that. So hang on a second. We're gonna swap again. Go ahead.
Hello again. So here at Serenity House, we have grief support the first Thursday of the month, and the third Thursday of every month is for anyone who has lost anyone to any kind of substance use passing, and all are welcome. And it's a great group of people just supporting each other through the grief journey. And please put the word out. We started this about 2 months ago. We have about like 10 to 15 people, and we have room for more. And I believe it's a really powerful group that we can support each other through our grief journey. So thank you.
Felicia. All right, so I got a couple of things. I saw Steve on the call, Steve Stefani. I don't know if he wants to jump on or not. Do you want to talk about what you're doing with the Stigma Crusher?
Yeah, and actually, we're providing harm reduction services out in West Chicago currently, hoping to expand out into Downers Grove, and we're working on Addison as well. So good things there. Let's see, I have just started planning a healthcare awareness event out in West Chicago. We are looking for organizations that deal with anything with groups that are stigmatized. I feel like there are a lot of people here I will probably be contacting in the future here. And we're planning that for August 20th, kind of around overdose awareness stuff. And I don't know, I think that's all I got for now.
Thanks, Dave. And yeah, we've been in touch with a couple of different places too, to hopefully help facilitate getting some spots out here. So
great. Yeah. And please let me know if you want me to meet with anybody or talk with anybody. I'll be available for that.
Absolutely. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Lastly, if I can toot my own horn just like very briefly. So June is actually an important milestone month for me personally. Because this month I will be actually celebrating 4 years in remission from stage 3 cancer, which I actually had to fight and beat twice. And so doing that is inextricably linked with my recovery process. And some of you know my story, some of you don't. But I had a good amount of recovery, and then was diagnosed with advanced stage 3 cancer, and then ended up having to fight that for a couple of years. And that kind of knocked me off my square, as they say in this field. I'll be celebrating this month 4 years in remission from cancer. And, you know, I missed having the haircut, so I gave it to myself again for this summer. Yeah, it's just, you know, I don't talk about it a whole lot, but I realized as it's June, I really wanted to acknowledge that, if only for myself. And then also, last thing, in a couple of short weeks, in July, I will be actually celebrating 1 year in my position here as a coordinator of DuPage ROSC. The first like 2 or 3 months was almost all outreach because of how big this was, how big a project and how big a county we live in. So in July, it'll be the 1 year. And if you would have told me a year ago, you know, what we would have gotten accomplished this year, I would have laughed at you, because we definitely thought, oh, this is going to take forever to get this off the ground, all of this. And you know what, with the help of you all, we've been able to build a really cool thing. And in my mind, we're still really in the opening stages. We have a lot planned for this year. And I'm excited to share with you all of that stuff at a future date. I can't talk too much about it, but there's a lot of exciting stuff planned in the next year, which is exciting for us. But I think it's crucial for the folks in DuPage County who need access to resources and like who we can break barriers down for. So thanks to all of you for that. Real quickly, we got about 3 minutes left. I just wanted to remind everybody, if you have not taken it yet, and I'm going to put this in the chat here at the end, we have our community assessment that's gone live a couple of weeks ago. Like I said earlier, the data that we collect from this is going to be used to kind of like direct the efforts of what we're doing here at the ROSC. So it's really important that we get this out to as many people as possible. It's a 20-question multiple choice survey about attitudes and accessibility towards services that are available in DuPage County specifically. We've had some like really good help from different organizations. So like DuPage Health Department, DuPage Continuum of Care, Catholic Charities, and a couple others who've helped us like distribute this. So we've done it through our outreach services, but the more the better. So if anyone in an organization can help, like if you've got like a mailing list, or if you want to share it with your clients, if you're in DuPage County, that would be incredibly helpful. Like I said, the more the better. So good feedback so far. Interesting feedback so far from what people think about, you know, what the services are like out here at this current time. And we really tried to find out what the barriers are and what are the gaps in services, and then like, how can we, you know, help plug those gaps. Also, I agonized over a like perfect Spanish translation because I'm like that. So please, if you have any Spanish speaking clients, let them take that one too. It took me like 2 weeks because I'm neurotic about that stuff. So let me stop this share real quick, and then share one other thing, which is just the reminder of the upcoming meeting. So the next ROSC meeting will be on Wednesday, July 13th, either in person here at Serenity House or online. So please keep an eye out for the invite for the next meeting. And then Wednesday, August 10th, we're going to be doing overdose awareness stuff here for that meeting. We do have a ROSC Facebook group. You can just search Facebook for DuPage ROSC. I would like to use that as like a resource brokering spot. So it's like, if you've got events coming up, feel free to share it in that group. If there's things you're looking for, help or collaborations, please feel free to send it to that group. And then really importantly, that DuPage ROSC Subcommittee meeting Wednesday, June 29th at 7 in person here at Serenity House in Addison. I do a pretty good job of making sure I get follow-up emails out to everybody after the meeting. So I usually get that out by Friday or Monday of next week at the latest. But I would like to try and get a head count of how many people can make it out to that subcommittee meeting, just so we can kind of see what we need for room. But we're looking forward to that. So I don't want to hold anyone hostage for any longer. Is there anything else anybody wants to share before we call it a day for the June meeting? Nope. Going once, going twice. One more time. I want to thank our speakers, Kelly Mannion from 360 and Frank Latta. They were both phenomenal. And I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their day and has a safe and happy weekend. I'm going to stick around just for a minute on here in case anybody has any questions at the end. Otherwise, we will see you next month.